Yeah, that's awesome. I'm excited for you all too. I know that like pool space is so crucial, and
Uh-huh.
then just like even this extra space for additional things like masters, adaptive swim lessons, all that kind of stuff is just going to be huge for everybody.
We're really happy about it. So it's kind
My name is Kiernan McGeehan, and I'm a Carmel High School graduate of 2011, and swam with Carmel Swim Club from age about 15 through graduation. So I was with the club for maybe 3 or 4 years.
And I know you wanted to say that you graduated in 2015, but you graduated from somewhere else in 2015. Would you like to share anything about that?
Yes, I graduated from college in 2015 at Xavier University, where I swam. All 4 years, was a distance swimmer, distance freestyler with them, which is exactly what I did through Carmel Swim Club and at Carmel High School. Yep. So right now I live in Chicago, Illinois, as our director of programs for the Midwest with the organization that I work for called Team Impact. We are a nonprofit that connects children faced with any type of serious or chronic illness to their own college athletic teams. The team really is just kind of working as like an emotional and social support for the child and family as they're going through diagnosis or even dealing with side effects or after effects of like a cancer chemo treatment. So it's kind of been a perfect job for me in that I'm able to use college athletics, which I participated in, as a career and support for others, which has been a ton of fun for me. And just like one smaller connection was involved in the organization as a senior during my time at Xavier. We were matched with a young man through the program, and just like throughout the entire program as a student athlete and afterwards, it was just like I need to be involved with this company after graduation, and just sort of like took my shot in applying and started in May of 2016 with a staff of about 5. And now just opened up our Midwest office and we have a staff of about 40. So it's been a ton of fun to grow with the organization and kind of do something that I've been or am so passionate about, and can almost draw everything back to my experience swimming, my experience with Carmel Swim Club, my experience swimming in college. So that part for me has kind of been really fun, just to be able to have something that I do professionally that I kind of grew up with and really sort of shaped me into who I am now.
I love it. Do you have any favorite matches or anything that kind of stands out that you can talk about that really left its mark on you through this whole Team Impact experience?
Yeah, so I'm really happy that you asked that question because I have 2 families that just go and are so near and dear to my heart. One was a young man that we matched with the University of Michigan football team, and the other was a young man that we matched with the University of Michigan men's basketball team. And just because they were on higher profile campuses and were, I guess, a little bit more involved from like a media standpoint, I was actually able to kind of fly out of our Boston office and go to some different events that we had on campus for those guys at Michigan, and really got to know their families, kind of establish closer relationships with them. We have little signing days for each of the kids that are in our program, so I got to be in attendance for both of those. And then I think it was 2017 or 2018, the U of M men's basketball team went to the national championship through March Madness, and the family was able to go to those games and be part of all of that kind of stuff. So those have been probably my 2 that I've really enjoyed working with and have created, pretty meaningful relationships with those families.
Oh, that's awesome. Very cool.
So my grandma has or had a house on Morse Reservoir up in Noblesville, and so we always spent weekends there over the summer. And our neighbor had like a little area that they sort of built to be kind of like shallower, a little bit more isolated. So I feel like that's probably where I learned to swim, and like my first ever experiences in the water, like outside of a kiddie pool or anything like that, really happened. So I just, as long as I can remember, I've been around the water and I really have loved swimming. and got involved in the fun summer neighborhood swimming, I think as like a 6 and under, and swam a couple invitational meets at the high school pool, which was funny that we were talking about its intimidation factor because I definitely felt that as a young swimmer.
Yeah.
And then just into high school, feeling like I wanted to get more serious about the sport. It was what initially made me join Carmel Swim Club. So I think those would be probably my earliest memories.
So did you officially join the club once you were in high school? Is that correct?
Yeah, so I did my freshman year as just a Carmel high school swimmer, and then did the same my sophomore year, but excuse me. I think I just made more friends my sophomore year, kind of being a little bit more established, and then decided to join the swim club after that high school season.
So that's a pretty remarkable journey you had to really kind of commit on the year-round side a little bit later, I think, than people traditionally assume you have to. And then to have done that as a high schooler, and then you went on and you competed all through college at the Division I level. That's pretty remarkable, pretty cool journey.
Thank you. Definitely something that I take pride in, but I think too, as I was joining the swim club, I realized I had a lot of ground to make up on, and was surrounded by people like Mike and Daniel and Nick, and had coaches like you, Chris and Ian, that really pushed me and I guess sort of allowed me to train with some of the best, be trained by some of the best, and feel like for as much as you guys have told me how much of an accomplishment it was to start so late, I was surrounded by and had probably every tool and resource to be able to make me great. I probably think about this and take this with me almost every week in my life, I would think. But I think the greatest lesson I've learned from Carmel Swim Club is to be comfortable with putting yourself in uncomfortable situations. We, as swimmers, are so forced to be uncomfortable physically, whether it be a dry land workout or a swimming workout, and you push through those workouts and you get to the end, you do whatever you can to touch the wall and finish a set or a challenging race. But I think that sort of foundation allowed me to put myself in uncomfortable situations, whether it be socially or taking a chance on a job opportunity or even, something community service related that I may have been hesitant about, but thought back to the importance of putting yourself in uncomfortable situations. And a lot of times those yield to some of your most fun experiences or some of your most fun memories. And I can remember Chris saying it when we were doing those crazy GH circuits in the weight room. And that's just something that always stuck with me. And I really feel like as I've grown up and applied myself, or I guess forced myself to, maybe jump into some different uncomfortable situations, I've really taken a look back and been happy with the fact that that's something that I've carried with me through high school and college graduation.
That's cool. And
so I'm going to try and answer this as an ally, a buddy, but also not try and sound too old and cheesy and corny. I think for myself as a swimmer, I was always so worried or caught up on oh my God, how hard is today going to be? Or what's the main set going to be today? Practice is going to be so hard. And I would say to maybe try and push those thoughts as far back as you can, because whether a practice is going to be hard or not is, it's just always going to be something. You're committed to the practice, you're committed to the sport, you're committed to the work. And the great thing about Carmel Swim Club is you have so many friends, teammates, allies around you that are doing the same thing. And you're all going to do it together. And when you're old and done with swimming and you're back at home for Thanksgiving or Christmas connected with those former teammates, all of those things are going to be what you're talking about and laughing about the most. So just dive into it head first. Enjoy and trust the process, trust your coaches, and know that you have such a great opportunity to, one, be a swimmer, but also be a swimmer with Carmel Swim Club. I would tell them to absolutely go for it. Like I kind of mentioned before, almost every opportunity and thing that I've gotten in my life has been a result of swimming. It's opened up so many doors just in terms of like traveling around the country and swimming at different pools or different events. Has or gave me the opportunity to go to college and compete at the collegiate level and meet a ton of different folks through sport in that regard. And then as we talked about too, I feel like if, I never started swimming, I never became a student athlete, I would never be in the position where I am right now professionally. So I just look at my life and swimming and just see this like incredible domino effect that it had on me and taught me so many different skills that again I take with me through, or I've taken through college and into my professional world and experience.
Very cool.
I think I just like looking back, I really enjoyed all of my time like during the summer as a Carmel Swim Club athlete. You spend so much time with your teammates and you're doing so many different things with the club and with the sport. And I just always remember, or I guess I always think back and being like, I had this job, right? Like I was training and then like I was able to go home and like have meals and things cooked for me, made for me. So I just enjoy like competing and having like the space and ability to compete, maybe like without guilt. But like in a more fun breath, my favorite memories were definitely the lakeside trips. We took a trip down to Florida and Fort Lauderdale where we trained at the, I think it was the Hall of Fame pool, and had almost like a week-long meet there. And it was a ton of fun to be able to travel with everybody and sort of experience Carmel Swim Club in a different area where we were training outside, and we had a beach and pool close to us. That's always fun, more fun than being in central Indiana.
A little bit.
So I'm going to take it a little bit further back and just maybe talk about, I think people would be surprised at like the intricacies of swimming and what goes into training for swimming. And I think that, or I probably know that most people don't have any idea of all of those intricacies that aren't involved in the sport. And I think a lot of people would be surprised at how much thought goes into how different specific age groups work with the sport, how their bodies are developing through the sport. And it's not a program or a club that is focused on doing like the hardest things or the most challenging things. There's a ton of science that goes into dryland training, swim training, and even just seeing like some of the things that we started out doing, like swimming with parachutes or swimming with the buckets, and to see how much those have been integrated into training right now has been pretty cool for me as an athlete, former athlete, to see all of that development happen. And I just think like between Chris, you, Rhiannon, anybody else on the pool deck, like minds are just constantly going about how can we do this thing better. And I think Carmel Swim Club is kind of at the forefront in developing those types of ways of thinking, ways of training to really develop the best athletes that that are participating.
I like
I just like, I think the biggest thing, again, to maybe make me sound like the old retired guy, is like really just enjoy it, because it is so much fun. It is really special to have the opportunity to compete. I think at the level that Carmel Swim Club competes at and expects people to compete at. And it is a really unique and special opportunity to be involved in such an elite organization or club.
Very cool. Well, thank you.
Of course.